I guess since I'm on a roll, let's go ahead and plan another case today, review another case today. The case sent in today is looked like an edentulous site, site number 18, and this is a great digital workflow. Can be done as an OptiGuide, digital guide, or CEREC guide. And so the case was submitted, and the notes were for an evaluation of the site. We have enough data here to have an OptiGuide fabricated, or a CEREC guide, or a digital guide. Um, my only thought process on this was, while capturing this much data, I would have gone ahead and captured the second molar and the molars here, so that way I would have had a little bit more stability and the ability to use a bite block to help hold the guide in place, especially with a distal extension surgical guide here. So let's go ahead and take a peek at the implant plan here. So here we've got a plan for a 4.3 by 10 millimeter implant. I'll go ahead and bring it up to the occlusal table in the axial view here, and we'll go ahead and clip along volume slice and lock our clipping region to this area right here. And one of the things that I notice in this particular case, and again, this is me being critical, is that our so looking at this, is that our implant, our plan in terms of our CEREC plan is very well drawn here. Our gingival margins very well done here, so that looks very nice, you know. But the only thing I would say here is, on this view right here, I would say that maybe our emergence profile right here is a hair bit thin, but again, that's just being overly critical. But I would say, just looking at this from this perspective, the one thing I would say is that our implant axis is not necessarily ideal with this, and having looked at this case in advance, I think the reason is because we have a very diverged root. Sorry, we have a diverged root here on number 19, just like so. So we have to get the implant far enough away to be able to maintain our 1.5 to 2 millimeters of space. But remember that this box right here is also based on the overall width, and then our implant does taper right through here, so we can get a little bit closer right there. So in looking at this case, the biggest thing that I would look at is probably I don't like doing a 4.3. The other thing that I'm looking at here is our buccal thinness right here, and this was one of the questions I was asked, is whether or not grafting is going to need to be done in this area right here. And I think the reason that this is positioned like this is probably because of the length of the implant. So I would have a tendency to go to an 8.5 millimeter implant, go to a 5.0 implant here, and then the 8.5 millimeter implant would allow me to then go ahead and tilt the implant, place it a little bit more ideally like so, and now grafting it becomes less of a likelihood here. And then also going to a shorter implant also makes running into that root a little bit less of an issue here. So I can get a little bit closer, just like so, and I can tilt my implant and get it into a slightly better alignment there. So this is kind of my thought process on this particular case here, would be to think along the lines of something like this. Now I would probably think of undersizing my osteotomy, maybe consider using some type of Versa or osteodensification here. I would look at the Nobel sleeve here. The sleeve would help me see that I'm pretty well centered. And looking at this down the line view, we can see that our implant is centered down the central groove of these teeth, and that we're, it's questionable how close we are right here, but I would say that we're at least a solid millimeter and a half away from this root right here. So I would be pretty comfortable with that right there. So I would be pretty comfortable with this implant placement as it is right here. And I do think that we do have enough space here. From there to the head of the implant, we have about, so we may need to drop this implant down a little bit like so to get ideal running room, to idealize our emergence profile like that. So there we go. I think something like that would avoid the grafting and produce a very nice result for us. So hopefully you found this helpful, and thank you for your submission. Have a wonderful day.